Perfect. Great, great. All right. Let me just make sure everything is set up here. Start my video. All right. Can everyone hear me and see me okay?
Yes.
All right. Let me share my screen now. All right. How's that looking?
Looks good.
Perfect. All right. Well, thank you once again for inviting me. My name is Nathan Smith. I'm the founder and CEO of Cultivation. Essentially, what we're doing here is we're developing a all-in-one autonomous and artificially intelligent digital transformation platform. And I know digital transformation may seem like a pretty new or nascent term, but I'm gonna definitely go into that, during the presentation. But I just want to thank everyone here, the team at Summit Venture Studio for inviting me. Um, I really appreciate it. And I definitely would love this opportunity to, share what's been on my mind, and I definitely love to get right back into it. So today I'm going to be presenting on how to successfully implement a digital transformation strategy. Before I even get into the nitty gritty and the details, this is a little bit about me. In my past, I've been a sales development representative, visual data analyst, software engineer, digital marketer at a wide variety of companies, and industries. I've also graduated from an accelerator program for my business back in December of 2022. And that was at Impact Ventures, and that was in Dallas, Texas. I recently was a Bridgeport Business Challenge finalist, where I did, receive some awards and was able to connect with some great entrepreneurs there down here in Connecticut. And I'm also, sorry, a published author. I also released a book called The Future, a deep dive into digital transformation and futurology, where I sort of go into a lot of topics in regards to artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, automation, and how they're going to be affecting our not only businesses, but society as a whole in the future, and different ways to implement these strategies into your business as well. So without further ado, I'd love to jump into the presentation, and tell you a little bit more about what digital transformation is. And in a nutshell, it's essentially the process of integrating digital technologies and strategies into various aspects of a business, organization, institution. And when you do this, it fundamentally changes the way it operates, delivers value, interacts with customers. These can be ways of, for example, if you're integrating things like automation, these can free up a lot of time for your employees, as well as even for your customers or end users as well, and make the end user process a lot more smooth and more efficient. It also improves decision making, drives innovation, and even opens up new business models. And digital transformation is a little bit different for depending on your industry, depending on the type of business that you have. But I'm definitely going to go into that much more in detail throughout the presentation. But this, in a nutshell, is what digital transformation is: integrating different technologies and strategies into your business. And I figured it'll help a little bit if, I sort of went over the historical context and developments within our society, from a technological standpoint. So as you can see, we've been through essentially four different societies, and we're sort of merging into the fifth one. The first one being the agrarian society. We had hunters and gatherers, basically manual labor and very basic tools. We fast forward, a couple of decades, we have industrial revolution, where we had the advent of machines and factories, and we had mass production. Society 3.0, where we had information age, where technology, computers, internet, are sort of making this more of a mark on the world, and knowledge and information became way more accessible. Society 4.0, which is what we're currently in today, but we're transitioning out of. And that's where you have automation, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and all of these different complex technologies that I'm sure you've been hearing of. And now we're sort of merging into Society 5.0, where we're sort of trying to find a way to find the harmonious coexistence between technology and humanity. We have AI, robotics, biotechnology, the Internet of Things. Everything is interconnected. Your iPhone can connect to your MacBook within seconds. You can see a text on your MacBook, you can see a text on your iPhone. You can go into certain shopping malls, or even Amazon is creating a grocery store where you don't even really have to go to a checkout lane anymore. You just put things in your cart, it automatically tallies it up. You scan your phone and you pay for whatever you need to pay for in your car, and you walk right out the store. Things are starting to become much more connected and make things a lot easier for us. Now, even though this sounds beautiful, it seems like we do have a problem. Over 90% of entities, businesses, institutions, organizations, even governments are going to be digitally disrupted, yet less than half are truly prepared for this technological shift. And even worse, less than 15% of the employees feel as if they even have the digital skill set to carry their entity throughout this change. And that is sort of why I decided to found Cultivation. Cultivation essentially has three different pillars: digital infrastructure, digital economy, and digital government. And that's sort of how digital transformation works in a nutshell. It aims to touch every single aspect of our world, whether on a macro scale or a micro scale. We want to provide a strong foundation for digital technology to all entities, by investing in much more smarter technologies. We also want to create opportunities for business owners and entrepreneurs, promote innovation, skills development, internalization through our digital economy pillar, and then also promote a digital government by transforming the way that government services are delivered. We want to make them more citizen-centric, efficient, and easier for people of all ages and all socioeconomic backgrounds to use. Now, when we get into the digital transformation process, a lot of it, I would say approximately 60 to 70% of it is due to the planning phase. You're going to have to be connecting with a wide variety of people within your organization, regardless of the size. That way you can truly analyze what needs to be done. And that essentially leads us to a pre-assessment and vision phase. So the first point is really engaging with key stakeholders and sort of defining the company's vision and growth priorities. You want to make sure you understand the pain points that are currently happening within your business, from a technological standpoint, from a culture standpoint. And you want to sort of determine the future of that business as well. And you're going to be taking notes about this, throughout the whole entire digital transformation process, which can sometimes take anywhere from 6 to 8 months, even more if you're working on a bigger project. You're also going to want to be able to determine the scope and see what really truly aligns with your business. Now, there are different types of businesses. Some they're different that have different cultures. Some businesses are way more aggressive when it comes to competing with their competitors. Some are a little bit more laid back. Some companies have a much more fun atmosphere. Some are a little bit more, let's say, seasoned when it comes to how they do business. So you kind of want to determine the scope, determine and connect with different representatives from different departments to make sure that you're understanding what the future of the business actually holds, and how every single department works together to sort of make sure the business is running smoothly. Now, you're also going to want to take a look at the past as well. See what things worked best in the past, what technologies work best in the past, what ways of doing businesses, processes work best, and see which ones didn't work so well. And then you want to extract valuable insights and also take note of that as well. Now, after you have all of these different notes, you also want to make sure that your organization is actually ready for digital transformation. Now, in terms of readiness, there can be a wide variety of different factors. It can be due to cost. It can be due to knowledge. Maybe your employees aren't really truly ready for this shift. But you just want to make sure that you take a note and see if your organization is ready. You want to make sure that you identify specific areas of resistance. Surveys, focus groups are really, really important when it comes to identifying where your company currently stands when it comes to digital transformation. What technologies are they currently doing well with? What kind of technologies are they having a hard time? What areas of the business are a little bit slow and just need, to be revamped and basically become more efficient. Doing a comprehensive survey across the whole entire organization is truly something that is vital when it comes to this process. You also want to develop targeted change management strategies and address, identified areas of resistance. As you may know, small or large, each business has different departments and different levels. You have C-level executives, and then we have other levels of employees that work within the company. So you want to make sure that you're understanding different ways to communicate with them and finding out different areas of the business from each different perspective at every single level. That way you can incorporate that into your digital transformation strategy. And you also want to conduct a resource capacity assessment to ensure that the organization can allocate the necessary time and personnel. See how many employees can actively every single day contribute to the digital transformation process, because this is something that isn't really necessarily easy. This can sometimes take a huge strain on an organization, not only financially, but time-wise as well. And given the fact that you're making so many different changes within the company as well, it can sometimes affect employee morale, which is why it's also important during the digital transformation process to sort of plan out a way to make this whole entire program as smooth as possible. Now, each business, depending on your industry, and depending on the type of business that it is, has different processes. So you want to sort of engage each and every process owner, people who are in charge of making sure things are running like clockwork, and see what different ways that these processes are working. You want to use different process mapping techniques to visually represent what's currently going on in the business across a wide variety of departments. Here I have a few examples as different ways that you can sort of, let's say, represent, these different workflows and processes that are currently happening within the business. We have flow charts that I'm pretty sure are traditional and widely used, and these sort of like illustrate the different steps that and decision points within a process by using, very basic symbols. We have swim lane diagrams. I'm not sure if any of you use this currently in your business, but it basically shows different responsibilities and departments involved in the process, and showcases the different interactions within these different departments as well. We have value stream mapping. We have business process model and notation that are essentially focused on what values are being added within these different processes and what processes don't really add much value at all. Um, and then we have SIPOC diagrams, which basically represent suppliers, the input, the processes, the output, and then the consumers as well. That way you can sort of see which different processes are not only affecting people within the business, but on the outside as well. And then we have Gantt charts. So all of these different process mapping techniques are very useful in regards to the planning process, essentially because you not only are you able to understand what technologies aren't working so well, and are working well, but you're also able to understand how the culture is going to be affected as well. What different types of processes add value to how the business is actually making money or how it's delivering value to its customers, and which ones aren't. Now, leadership commitment and sponsorship is a truly one of the most important parts of the digital transformation process. Given the fact that, given this is going to be a organizational wide effort, you clearly have to define the roles and responsibilities of the executive sponsor and sort of establish, their engagement throughout the whole entire transformation from beginning to end. This isn't essentially something that you would do right at the beginning, but this will be happening throughout the transformation process as well. Essentially, the executive sponsor is going to be a senior level leader, and they'll be sort of in charge of, championing and supporting the whole entire process from the beginning to end. They want to make sure that you have the necessary resources and the direction that the business is going to go in throughout the whole entire process. You want to make sure that the culture is clearly defined. Each person's role is clearly defined. The processes are defined, and seeing how we can make the business be more efficient from beginning to end. They're also going to be in charge of making sure that the right technologies are going to be implemented as well. So they're basically sort of the person who's spearheading the whole entire operation. And these can vary across a variety of businesses and industries depending on the size. Now, once you figure that you have sort of like a good grasp on, the planning and how everything is going to look in regards to the digital transformation process, then you want to start thinking about implementation. And one of the most important parts that people, really love is what technologies are we going to actually implement into the business? How are we going to make our business smarter, more efficient, faster, even cheaper than our competitors? Um, and that is where you're going to conduct essentially a due diligence on potential vendors and people who do provide these different technologies, different service providers. You want to make sure that it accurately corresponds with your company budget, and also is the right person for your company. You may have a individual, let's say for example, if your company wants to integrate a specific type of software that's going to make it a lot cheaper for your company to carry out its processes, going to make it a lot more smoother for your employees to use as well. One company may be charging you, hypothetically speaking, $50,000, but maybe are they the right? Or and another company may be charging you 100,000. Now, most people want to make possibly go with the cheaper option, but is that company right for your business? Do they really understand your business model? Do they understand your industry? Do they understand how your company actually does business? Do they understand the culture? Maybe it may be worth it to spend that extra $50,000 and sort of use that technology vendor in regards to your digital transformation process. You're also going to want to evaluate, potential risk associated with technology integration. Some technologies may not work well for your business. And that's why you will kind of want to eliminate that risk right before you even think about integrating it. As we may know, when you're building a business or carrying out a project within your business, not everything goes out as planned. So you want to sort of figure out which technologies are going to work well with your business, to work well with your industry, and set you apart from your competitors in that sense. And you want to develop that plan to sort of integrate that technology into your business as well. And this sort of goes hand in hand with the previous slide, a risk assessment and mitigation. You sort of want to develop a detailed risk register that includes both potential risk and the corresponding mitigation strategies. And you want to do this for every single stage of the digital transformation process, both for the technology standpoint, for your culture, for the employees, for the customers. What risks um, will each in different department take on, different end user take on? And you want to sort of keep that in a register and make sure that you're regularly reviewing it and updating it throughout the process. Now, this is a question that I get asked about a lot, and it's how do we protect our data? Um, Nobody wants a data breach. Nobody wants to lose data for their end users, especially if you're in a realm such as the health field or the financial industry as well. So you want to make sure that you develop a data governance framework that sort of underlines who's going to be in charge of this data, what are their responsibilities. And I listed out some of the different positions or teams that are sort of in charge of the data governance framework throughout this entire process. We have chief data officers, we have, sometimes it's the IT department or a data governance team or the compliance and legal team. And it truly depends on the company size and industry that you're currently working in. But you just want to make sure that you're establishing a data framework and you're making sure that you're protecting the data, not only for the company, but for, the end users, the customers as well. That way you can avoid, any, if worst comes to worst, any potential lawsuits or any loss of data that would truly compromise how your consumer, how the stakeholders do business, and so on and so forth. Now, the next step that would sort of transpire within the digital transformation process is figuring out how you are going to actually carry it out. Now, there are a wide variety of iteration cycles, different mechanisms, and different processes that we can use. I'm sure you've seen some of them listed below, waterfall, lean, Six Sigma, DevOps, Agile, and some companies even use a mixture of all of them. Um, Me personally, I truly believe that Agile is one of the most efficient, given the fact that it's very, very flexible. It allows you to even incorporate other aspects of implementation methods as well. Um, but you really want to figure out how often you're going to be working on a specific aspect of the digital transformation process. How much time are you going to spend towards software development? How much time are you going to spend towards developing training models? How long are you going to take? How often are you going to go back and review specific stages of the process that you were working on before? How often are you going to review the ones that you're going to be working on in the future? And sort of just developing a framework for how you're going to implement this project. You want to make sure that you aren't burning out your employees. You want to make sure that everybody that is going to be implementing these different technologies or change management frameworks into the company are doing it efficiently and at a healthy pace. That way you can stay on track and meet your deadlines and timeline. You also want to make sure that you're conducting various surveys and testing throughout the whole entire process as well. If you are developing like as mentioned before, software for your company and you're using and developing proprietary software, you want to make sure that the company, people within the company can understand how to use the technology and really like how it's looking, how it operates, make sure they're everybody agrees on how fast it works and see this essentially just implement a user feedback system and then use that feedback to sort of refine and reiterate and go back and make sure that the software or whatever project that you're currently working on within digital transformation currently works for the business.
Nathan, I want to make sure that we've got some time for Q&A. So if you're able to wrap up in just a minute or two,
That's
then we
okay.
can jump into the Q&A.
Great, great. And last but not least, we want to think about change management. You want to develop, comprehensive training modules that sort of address, each and every aspect of the digital transformation process and provide ongoing learning opportunities to ensure that, employees are remaining updated on the technology advancements. You want to take this time to essentially teach your employees not only how to use the technology um, as it is presented to them, but also how to use the technology to innovate and create new ideas within the company as well. You want to be able to, read the metrics and the data. And most companies, when they're developing new technologies within the company as well, they're also implementing dashboards into their systems. So it's basically providing them with, a well-rounded view of progress and outcomes and different KPIs as well. And you also want to make sure that, different escalation paths, if anybody needs help within, the process, whether that be at the beginning or the end, that they can accurately contact people that are carrying out the people at the digital transformation process, whether on the top level or in the mid level. That way they can address issues and review project progress and, make decisions. And we have communication and change management, where essentially you want to develop a communication plan. And this sort of ties into what I mentioned before and communicating, essentially different messages for different stakeholder groups. Everybody speaks a different language within the company as well. So you want to make sure that everybody is being supported. And then we have cultural reinforcement, same as before, engaging in leadership and, basically modeling the desired culture and behavior. And then making sure that everything that you implemented is sustainable and scalable as well. And I do have some metrics that I wanted to end off on just to essentially go over the benefits of the digital transformation process. But we do have some quantitative and qualitative metrics. And you want to make sure that everything that you implemented has great return on your investment and eliminated costs um, increased productivity. It also improved on, customer satisfaction scores, retention rates, acquisition costs, and also, improved on the technology as well across the whole entire organization. And in terms of qualitative metrics, you want to make sure that your employees are satisfied. You're improved in on your business models, allowed for a new window of innovation and the agility to open up, culture change, and all these different aspects and benefits that you want to bring to the table after implementing this strategy. And last but not least, you just want to make sure that support is there throughout the whole entire progress, because digital transformation is not only something that happens once, but it happens over the years that you have your business as well. So once again, I want to thank you for everything that you have done, to make sure that you can implement this digital transformation process efficiently and streamline the whole entire process from beginning to end. I want to thank, Summit Venture Studio for allowing me to present on this topic. And I would definitely want to open up the floor to any questions and answers that may have arisen throughout the presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Nathan. Great content. Really appreciate that. I have put some questions in the chat, but would welcome anyone to take priority if you want to unmute yourself and throw some questions out to Nathan.
Hey, yes. Thanks, Nathan, for the presentation. Great content. Thank you very much for sharing. In one of the first slides, you share the steps, the stages, the 1 through 5 stages of digital transformation and the areas where we are. And you talked about AI as one of them.
Mm-hmm.
In your experience, what is the rapid change of pricing when you're developing new technologies? And let me just be a little bit more clear. When there's new technologies out there, like a few years ago when machine learning was first introduced, it was very expensive to be some of the first companies to develop and implement machine learning into what you're doing. But as the months or years go by, those technologies become cheaper now to implement. Now AI is kind of new, and it's we've looked at different things, and Google actually just released some cool AI technology this week.
Yeah.
But in your experience, what is that time frame where you're the early adopter and you wait, a few months to be, to see if those prices go down when you're developing new technology, and if you have seen some growth and rapidly adoption with AI, because now it's exponentially growing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely understand your question. Yeah, I truly believe that, we're still pretty early. There's so much more potential for AI and machine learning and everything that encompasses that umbrella. When it comes to the cost, I truly believe that, with the wide variety of AI tools being released, it's almost like every day now. If you go on LinkedIn, you see a new AI tool being released. And sometimes it's even free or cheap to even implement into your business. I truly believe that over the next couple of years, as you mentioned before, things are starting to get more and more cheaper, and AI is going to essentially be a part of every single business. When you think about when the computer was first released, um, it was very expensive for everybody to even get one in their homes. Um, but as time progressed, years and decades progressed, now basically everyone has a computer. We have a computer right here in our palms, now that you're thinking about it. So it does take some time to really implement AI into the business. But I do truly believe that over time things will get much more and more cheaper. They also get more and more complex as well. So it truly, and I also think that depending on the size and scale that you're trying to implement it on, in regards to your business and how complex that you're trying to get, that would also determine the cost as well.
Thank you.
So
anyone else want to unmute? Otherwise, we've got I put some questions in the chat, Nathan, that we've got about 2 or 3 more minutes that we could do Q&A if anyone wants to unmute and ask Nathan some questions.
Yeah, I definitely see some questions. Okay, so one of the questions in the chat was, what metrics do you use to identify the highest priority areas to digitize or automate? Well, when it comes to digital transformation, one thing that we noticed across a wide variety of companies is that their processes aren't efficient. So let's look at, let's say, for example, a manufacturing company. They may want to figure out ways to make sure that, they are manufacturing things more efficiently. They want to make sure that they're doing it faster. They want to make sure that they have less errors. So one of the different metrics, and I go back to this slide here, that way we can take a look at it. You want to make sure that the technology, for example, in regards to the manufacturing company, you want to look at technology metrics. You want to measure the system uptime. You want to make sure that there's not a lot of errors that are currently happening within the manufacturing process, response times, and you want to also look at ways that you can make things more efficient in regards to your cost and productivity. When it comes to digital transformation, a lot of companies are essentially, or organizations or institutions, are looking to ways to sort of take the load off of their employees. And that's why they sort of look to automation or artificial intelligence first, mainly because you are able to, really compact and get rid of all of those redundant tasks that you have to deal with as an employee. And in the future, this may be a little bit off topic, but in the future, I truly believe that, a lot of roles that we currently see right now within companies or organizations are going to be sort of transformed into, software and automated. And a lot of these roles are going to be transformed into sort of this looking over and making sure that everything is happening as it should be within the processes of the company. So everything in regards to, whether it be a quantitative metric or a qualitative metric are very important, when it comes to especially innovation and agility. As mentioned before, Antonio even asked, with the wide variety of AI tools and technology advancing at a rapid pace, how can you even respond to these different market changes? And that's another important metric that I think companies look at as well, is how can they be more innovative and faster than, their competition? They want to adopt new technologies very quickly, and look at these different technologies as well. So these are a little bit of the metrics that, you sort of look at when it comes to the whole transformation process.
That's super helpful. Thanks. I think we've hit our time here at quarter to the hour, but really appreciate the presentation, Nathan. We've had some questions about whether these slides would be shared. Are you willing to share these with Hannah and she can share them out with the group? Does that work, or are there other ways that people could get in contact with you and get the content?
Most definitely. Yeah, I was able to share the whole entire presentation to Hannah. So she would be able to disseminate that throughout, the group. I also I put my LinkedIn in the chat as well. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn in case you have any questions. And as mentioned before, I do have a book that I wrote called The Future Digital Transformation. A deep dive into digital transformation and futurology, which goes into everything that I mentioned here today, as well as other areas of the whole entire strategy and program in depth as well. I'm also have the company. I'll actually link it here. Let me just change the slide. We can be found at Hey Cultivation, and our website is heycultivation.com. And if anyone wants to contact me personally as well, I'll also link my email here in the chat. And we can always have a one-on-one where we can discuss digital transformation or any other topics in detail as well.
Sounds great. Really appreciate you going through this, Nathan, this week. It's been great to have you here, and we will share this out and get your we'll have another post on LinkedIn about kind of a summary here. So if you'd like to chat with Nathan, grab his email in the chat, and really appreciate everybody coming, and we'll see you back here next week. Thanks, Nathan.
Thank you, Taylor. And thank you everyone to the Summer Venture team. Have a great one.
Thanks all. We'll see you.
All right.